Hi, it's Dr. Dre from Stay Strong Physical Therapy here in Chino, California. I'm here to talk about internal rotation today. Our hip is pretty much our powerhouse. That's where we go from sit to stand, how we walk, how we squat, super important in the body. And so the hip offers lots of different movements. So our hip goes into flexion, it goes forward, it goes back, it goes out to the side, in, and then it also rotates. And that's where we're gonna focus on today. So the hip rotates out, and then it also rotates in. And so a couple of things that are important for hip rotation and what happens when we don't have hip rotation is the body tends to compensate. So let's say if we have too much external rotation where our feet are out, and you can notice that slightly when you're walking. So if you're walking and it's kind of like that duck pattern walking, that definitely can be a problem, meaning that you don't have enough muscle internally to pull the feet into alignment. And in order to optimally function, we need things to be stacked one on top of the other. Maybe you don't care if your feet are pointed outward. Maybe that's not a big deal. It really should be, because that is how we function at our best. So, for example, if your feet are too far out, other things are going to compensate, because you still are going to be able to get from point A to point B. You're still going to be able to get up out of that chair. You're going to be able to go hiking and do all the things, but something else is working a little bit harder for you, such as your back or maybe your knees, because you don't have that internal rotation. Now, this becomes especially true when we're trying to squat or run, and the body is really compensating to do the things that you're asking it to do, and it's going to do those things, but over time, those compensating patterns will break down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to check whether you have enough internal rotation. I'm also going to show you how to move through internal and external rotation, and then I'm also going to show you how to strengthen it. Maybe your situation is not as extreme where your feet are completely pointed out or even completely pointed inward. You know, a good way to check to see if you have enough of this internal rotation is what I'm going to show you next. Okay, so I'm using this PVC pipe as a reference so you know what 90 degrees is. So here's my leg. If I were to bring my leg all the way up in line with this PVC pipe, that would be 90 degrees. Nobody has that much internal rotation. We're just using it as a reference. We really want to get to anywhere from 30 to 45 degrees of internal rotation. So the direction of my knee is telling me that my hip is rotating inward. So I'm just checking to see if either that pinches or that hurts, or if it just feels tight and stuck. Now, a couple things when you're checking this, you want to make sure that your sit bones are evenly pressed and that you're not lifting your hip. For example, if I go here, that's about the limit of my right internal rotation, but I can make it look higher by lifting my butt up. So keep your butt on the mat or on your bed. You also can check both to compare. So lifting up, and you kind of see how much of the side of your foot can you see, and mine look about even, but you know, if we were in this situation, then okay, maybe we have a problem on this right side. So that's a great way to check whether or not you have good internal rotation. Next thing I'd like to do before we get into any of the stretches, I like to start off with a pelvic tilt. Pelvic tilt is just a great way to get things moving, get things mobilizing within your hips. So you're gonna lay on your back. And at home, you can do this on your bed. If you feel comfortable getting on the floor, then on the floor is fine. Arms should be by your side. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna raise my arms up so that you can see what's going on with my pelvis. Here's my pelvis. Your feet are about hip distance apart. Knees are hip distance apart. You're going to take your pelvis and roll into the mat. So essentially, I'm pressing my lower back into the mat. I'm gonna raise my arm up so you can see, pressing my lower back into the mat. Now, the opposite of this movement is arching. Arching is here. We're not necessarily looking for this movement, but sometimes I think it's helpful just to understand, okay, we're not doing this. What we want is the opposite. We want to roll this way. So a couple of cues to help understand this movement and help power this movement. You can gently press through your heels. Pressing through your heels kind of fires the hamstrings and it moves the pelvis back. So if there was a platter on my pelvis, the platter would be tipping this way and then back to neutral. So you're pressing your lower back into the mat, slightly squeezing your butt cheeks, gently pressing evenly through your heels. Now you're pressing through your heels, but you're not allowing the toes to rock up. We're not pressing that hard. It's a very gentle, fluid motion. At home, you would get into this position. Tightening your tummy also helps make this a little bit more powerful, and then slowly releasing, not to the point where we're arching, just back to a neutral, even position. So holding for 5 seconds and then maybe doing about 12 of these is a great way to warm up the hips. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how to mobilize your hips. And I'm gonna start with a beginner movement. So this can be in a laying down position on your back, knees bent, arms are in a T position, and you're gonna drop your knees to one side, hanging out here for a couple seconds. And then you're gonna go the opposite way, dropping your knees. You should feel a good stretch here. This is stretching my right internal rotators because my knee is going in towards my body. And so you can do this back and forth. So again, this is more of a beginner position. If this is easy, you can come to a more upright position. Arms can either be supporting you in the back as you drop your knees down, or you could support yourself using more of your trunk muscles, and then you're rotating back and forth. So I would do this, I don't know, about 10 times on each side. So lifting up, rotating, and after you've warmed up in this position, you can come into a squat position. So we're here, kind of squat, sitting into your hips, and then we're gently going to tap the knee to the ground. So starting on the right, we're rotating in, tapping, coming back to center, and then tapping on the opposite side. So we're tapping. This should not be painful. You should not feel pinching. You should feel your hip muscles working pretty hard to keep you in this position. And then you should feel a little bit of a stretch at the end, muscle working hard. So again, I would do 10 times on each side. Okay, so here's a great way if you're at the gym to strengthen your internal rotators. So you're gonna prop a bar up and putting your leg dangling over the bar. You're gonna get a resistance band, something not too tough, because remember, these muscles are smaller muscles. They're smaller stabilizing muscles. We don't need too much resistance. As you can see, this is a very thin band. So you're gonna stand up nice and tall. You can hold on to the side for stability. This part of your leg is not moving. The only thing that is moving is from your knee down. You're rotating your knee inward, feeling the resistance, holding it for a couple seconds, and then slowly returning it back to center. So we're nice and tall, rotating out. I'm slightly kicking out with my heel, so I'm not like pointing my toes. I'm leading slightly with my heel. If I look down at my foot, the edge of my foot is straight. So it's not turned in, it's not turned out, it's straight. And so I'd recommend 3 sets of 10. At the end, you're holding it for a couple seconds just to really make that muscle fire, and you should feel it in your hip. So you're holding out and then nice and slow and controlled on the way back in. Okay, so this is a great setup if you're at home. You can use a yoga block in between your knees. If you don't have a yoga block, it could be a pillow, it could be some kind of box or something firm in between your knees. And then you're gonna wrap a band around your ankles, and then you're going to come out and then back in. Again, you're holding at that end range for about 3 seconds, and then you're making sure to control the return. So what we don't want is we don't want the band to sling us back in, because then the band is just doing all the work. So we're coming out, holding for 3 seconds, and then returning it slowly. So out, 1, 2, 3, nice and slow on the way back in. So this is a great one to do at home, on your bed, or on your couch. We've covered why this is important, why it's important to get yourself out of that external rotation, moving your legs inward so they're more aligned and things are stacked the way they should be. We also covered how to check it, how to check to see if this is a problem. You know, like I said, maybe you're not in that extreme toes out position, but once you check sitting at the edge of your bed, once you check your movement, you may notice, oh, I have more on one side versus the other. So that definitely can be a problem. In addition to how we checked it, we showed you how to move it and mobilizing through, going through internal and external rotation to get things to move a little bit better. And then lastly, we covered how to strengthen it. So how to strengthen internal rotators in 2 different positions to help you rebuild that muscle and keep things in alignment so that your body isn't forced to compensate. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love for you to try it out, see how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you happen to be in the area around Chino, California, if your problem is a little bit deeper than what is demonstrated here, I most definitely can help you. You can reach out to Dr. Dre at staystrongphysicaltherapy.com.